There are only two dates that you need to be aware of when paying off your credit card. That's going to be your statement closing date and your payment due date. Let's start with the statement closing date. This is the date when credit card companies report to credit bureaus how much credit you used out of your credit limit within your statement. So before we talk about this topic, pull out your own credit card statement and try to find your closing date and your total credit limit. And make sure to write them down and follow along as we talk about this topic. Now, a day or two before your statement closes, make sure that you drop your current balance to just 1% of your total credit limit. So let's say that your statement closing date is the 26th of September, while your total credit limit is $10,000 and your current balance is $5,000. This would be bad because you have a 50% credit utilization. You have $5,000 over $10,000 times 100, and that gives you 50% of your credit limit, which is bad. When credit bureaus see that your credit utilization is 30% or higher, they're gonna ding you and they're gonna drop your credit score really fast. You wanna aim for the 1 to 10% usage range of your total credit limit because credit bureaus love this. That tells them that you don't need the money right now and that you really care about your credit utilization, which they love. So for this example, let's say we took that $5,000 and paid off $4,900 off that $5,000, leaving $100 on your current balance over $10,000 times 100, and that gives you a 1% credit utilization. Notice that I didn't pay off the entire thing because studies show that a 1% utilization is actually better than a 0% utilization. Judging from this article that I found on Experian, it says that a 0% utilization is worse than a 1% utilization because they just kind of assume that you haven't used your credit at all, and that's not what they want to see. But with that being said, 0% is still fine. It's much better than that 30 to 50% utilization range. I usually have 0% for a lot of my cards because I don't really use a lot of my cards and it doesn't negatively affect my credit score at all. So let's go back to your own statement closing date. Just make sure that you drop your current balance to 1% of your total credit limit a day or two before your statement closes. So you tell me down in the comments below, when does your statement close and what is your total credit limit and what is the number that you have to hit right before your statement closing date. Let's take a look at my actual statement so that you guys can get a real life example on how to pay this off correctly. You can see that my statement closes September 26th, while my total credit limit is $9,000. You can see that my current balance is $267.96. If we put this into the equation, we get $267.96 over $9,000 times 100 to give me a utilization rate of 2.97%, which is amazing. Now, if I'm really trying to increase my credit score fast, I'm gonna drop that 2.97% to just 1% because credit bureaus love to see that. So right before September 26th, maybe on September 24th, maybe even September 23rd, I'm gonna drop that $267 to just $90 because 90 over 9,000 times 100 would equal just 1%. The analogy I like to give is that your parents are going to check if you cleaned your room and they're only going to check you on a specific date and they tell you which date that is. So your room could be super messy all throughout the month. As long as your room is clean just a day or two before they check, you're good to go. And that's kind of the same with credit utilization, and this accounts for 30% of your credit score. So you are in charge of just 30% of your credit score, and it's completely up to you to make sure that you're only using 1% of your credit limit before your statement closes. And it's really up to you to do this and just make a habit out of it if you really want to increase your credit score. Once you get to 760 and above, you can just leave it at 0. You don't have to do this all the time, but if you're really looking to increase your credit score, this is a great way to do it. So what happens to that remaining balance that you purposely left on your statement? This is where payment due date comes into play. So now that your statement has closed, you usually have to pay off that statement 21 to 30 days after your statement closes, and that's what your payment due date is. So that $90 that I purposely left on September 26th, I have to pay that on October 20th because my payment due dates are on the 20th of every month. So that September 20th payment due date that you see on my statement, that was for my August 26th statement closing date. If I don't pay off that $90 by my payment due date, 3 terrible things are gonna happen. 1, my credit score will drop because my payment history is no longer at 100%. 2, I'll accrue interest on that $90, which is never good. You never want to accrue interest, especially credit card interest, because their APRs are so incredibly ridiculous that you never want to pay for interest. That's how they get you guys. That's how they make their money, is off of your interest that you pay. Don't pay interest, guys. And number 3, I'm gonna get hit with a late payment fee depending on the credit card company. Remember, payment history accounts for 35% of your credit score, so you wanna make sure that your payment history is close to 100% as possible. Payment history takes into account all the opportunities of payments that you had and all the percentages of on-time payments that you've had in your entire lifespan. For example, if you had a credit card for a year, let's just say, and you missed 1 payment, then you would have 11 on-time payments out of 12 payments total. That would mean you have 11 out of 12 payments completed, which is only a 91.7% on-time payment history, which is not good. That's gonna drop your credit score pretty badly. So you wanna make sure that you're getting close to 100% as possible. So you can see here that 91% is gonna be really bad for your credit score. It's definitely gonna drop you down. And you can see here that 100% is the only way to get a really good score. Even 99% isn't that great. Just try to get to 100% if you can. So even missing just one payment on your credit payment history can really ding your credit score. So this is something that you want to make sure that you always do. Pay it off in full and on time every month. A little tip here is try to call all of your credit card companies and get all of your statement closing dates on the one specific date and all your payment due dates on one specific date so that you could just memorize when your payment due dates are and when your statement closing dates are. This makes it so much easier for you to track, and this way you're never gonna forget. I personally chose September 26th as my statement closing date, and I chose the 20th of every month for my payment due date. I just like those dates. Those dates work for me. That's when I get the most amount of money and I can just pay it off, and it's just pretty easy for me on those dates, but just see what works for you. Also, most credit card companies have this thing called auto pay, where it just pays off your payment due date for you. So even if you do forget, this will just take care of it for you. So make sure to toggle that on. One note that I have to say here is never get tempted by that minimum payment due. And this is how the credit card companies get you. This is how they make money. They want to make sure that you're just paying off your minimum payment so that you leave a big statement balance so that that can accrue interest. And then their APRs are just insane. I mean, my APR on this card is like 21 or 27%, which is just gonna be crazy. Let's just say that you have a 27% APR because that's actually the APR on my Chase credit cards. And then let's just say that you just pay the minimum payment and you pay off $35 and you leave $965 on your balance to accrue interest. Well, after just 1 year, that $965 is gonna turn into $1,225.55, which is just crazy, guys. You should not have to pay these credit card companies $265 extra just for nothing. So always pay on or before your payment due date in the full amount. Never be tempted by that minimum payment. Credit utilization and on-time payments are completely in your control, and these are the only things that you can really just control on a month-to-month basis. So make sure that you're only using 1% of your total credit limit before your statement closes, and make sure to pay off that remaining balance on your payment due date the next month. These two things account for 65% of your credit score, and it's all up to you to get it right. Well, what about that other 35% of your credit score, you ask? Well, that's for the next video right here if you want to learn about credit history, credit mix, and new credit inquiries. So comment down below, what's your statement closing date, what's your payment due date, and what's your total credit limit that you have on your statement right now. Make sure you know these by heart and make sure to pay it off on time and in full every month, and just watch that credit score skyrocket. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys on the next one. Woo!